Nikkei Asia News Roundup
with Jada and Brian. Welcome to the Nikkei Asia News Roundup with your hosts, Jada and Brian.
bringing you the latest updates and insights on the dynamic world of Asia and more.
Now let's delve into the headlines. This program is brought to you by Nikkei.
China has approved plans for building 10 nuclear reactors for 200 billion won, or $27.7 billion, putting the country on track to push its nuclear power generation capacity past the U.S. to become the world's largest by 2030.
U.S. tariffs and global market turmoil could derail Indonesian President Prabowo Subianto's expansive spending plans. While experts see Indonesia's fiscal position as stable, global pressures could find the government forced to trim spending or issue debt.
Growing demand and a weak home currency have led to surging electricity prices in Laos, casting a shadow over the government's push to turn the country into the so-called battery of Southeast Asia.
Under pressure from populist opposition leaders who have gained ground flogging anti-immigration ideas, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer pledged this month to implement a controlled, selective and fair system to prevent the UK from becoming an island of strangers.
Russia has agreed to help Pakistan build a modern steel plant on the site of a defunct mill that the Soviet Union operated for some 2 decades until the early 1990s. The new plant is expected to reduce Pakistan's steel imports by 1/3 and help the country with its problematic management of foreign exchange reserves.
Southeast Asian leaders are pushing to deepen economic integration at a regional summit that began Monday, approving an upgraded trade agreement and endorsing a new long-term vision in their first meeting since Washington announced sweeping tariffs in April. Now moving on to the next segment.
Automobile price war weighs on China's consumption recovery. Car sales are weighing on China's consumption growth as domestic electric vehicle makers roll out cheaper models to boost market share. Retail sales grew 5.1% year-on-year in April, according to official statistics released last week, falling short of the market consensus of 6%. While growth was sustained by the government's trade-in policy on electrical appliances, a major drag was car sales, which grew 0.7% in value. Excluding cars, retail sales increased 5.6%. But the number of passenger cars sold domestically actually rose by 14%, according to the China Association of Automobile Manufacturers, driven by strong sales of lower-priced models. EVs are typically sold at a premium to gasoline cars in many countries, but in China, where about half of all cars sold are now, quote, new energy vehicles, car makers are rolling out new models that are increasingly cheaper than internal combustion engine vehicles. The top-selling car in April was the Starwish, an all-electric sedan by Geely's Galaxy EV brand, according to car marketplace app Dongchaedi. The lowest-end version of the model comes with a driving range of 310 kilometers and is priced at 68,800 yuan, or $9,500, compared to the Tesla Model 3, which starts at nearly 3.5 times as much. Automobiles made up for 1/10 of total retail sales in April, according to official data. Spending on cars was nearly double that of groceries and more than 3 times the spending on clothing.
Philippines' Marcos appoints new foreign minister amid cabinet shakeup. Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is appointing a new top diplomat as he continues to reshuffle his cabinet in the wake of midterm elections that have eroded some support for his government. Maria Teresa Lazaro, a career diplomat and undersecretary for foreign affairs, will be the new foreign affairs secretary. Lazaro will be the Philippines' first female foreign minister in 21 years. She will be appointed on July 31st. Meanwhile, Marcos will retain his appointments on the economic team. The current secretaries of the Departments of Trade, Finance, Budget, Economic Planning, and Investments will stay for now. Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin said the cabinet shakeup was the honorable way to change appointments. The Marcos administration asked members of his cabinet to tender courtesy resignations. This uncertainty comes at a rocky time for Marcos Jr., whose support weakened after allies of the family of former President Rodrigo Duterte were elected to the Senate in greater numbers in the recent midterm elections. These elections, which happen midway through a Philippine president's term, are meant to act as a referendum on the current administration's performance.
And now for news highlights. Today we are sharing a couple of Nikkei Asia's most well-read stories in the last few days.
Yes, and looking at the top 10 stories, seems like Trump, again, is a very popular topic.
Several of the stories in the top 10 are about it, and they're about different things as well.
Yeah, a wide range of topics, but the common name up there in the headline is Trump, of course. One of them has to do with Harvard foreign student ban. We actually just talked about Malaysian international schools.
Just a previous episode, we talked about how that's becoming a big thing for people in Asia to go to Malaysia for international education instead of parts of the West.
That's kind of like a positive move, I guess, but this more so the Trump Harvard student ban is kind of a it's a serious matter. A lot of students are
as of
out.
recording, it's still going on because every day it seems to be changing. But some of our articles are doing really well, and one of them made the top 10 just recently. So I'm expecting a couple more to do that as well.
Yeah, the article has a couple of comments from actual students who are worried about their future, their educational future. So I'm sure that will be a long-running topic in the next couple of weeks as it develops further. Another one is Nippon Steel. Again, a topic that's changing constantly, but
it's been changing constantly. It's been going on for 1.5 years now.
Yeah, it's been a long-running topic. Nippon Steel is actually it's trying to acquire U.S. Steel, a major counterpart in the U.S., and it seems like there was a little bit of progress in that Trump seems to approve of it, but still, the thing is that it'll be a partnership, not really a, Nippon Steel wants to make it a wholly owned subsidiary, but that will be, it seems like it's still difficult.
Yeah, that's one of the big issues about an American company being bought out by a foreign company, so to speak, which happens a lot, but this is a big company getting bought out, and a company for a century of reputation. But also one of the quotes, or one of the ideas was that Trump has concluded this is not a threat to national security, which seems to be the other angle that people are worried about.
And aside from, I guess, more newsy stories, we've had a couple of opinion pieces in the top 10.
Yeah, so that should be... Oh, this is the... are we talking about the drinking one?
Yes, we could go with that.
Because nomikai, as the Japanese word is, it literally means like a drink up, getting together, specifically, usually with coworkers after work. And this whole article is about how that's a very integral part of Japanese culture and business culture, specifically. It can also be with like university students, but this is with companies. And this author, who is a filmmaker named Riki Okanda, she is... as I like to put it, because it is an opinion piece, she has a very strong opinion, and it's very interesting to read because she's lamenting the dying culture of nomikai and how important she thinks it is for not just people getting along, but also just how businesses operate.
Because as she points out also in her piece, the culture has kind of died out in the past 10 years, especially with COVID. That kind of,
Yeah, it's a two-barreled thing that younger people are drinking less alcohol. It's sort of a trend toward healthier lifestyles. But also the COVID-19 pandemic dealt a major blow to people just getting together and drinking. I mean, there was some online drinking, Zoom drink-ups, but it's just not the same.
Not the same, yes. Especially the point she makes is that it's really a safe space, and a sense of community and communication that doesn't happen in the boardroom or in the office.
That's one of the major points she makes, is that this is a thing you'll hear about if you study up on Japanese culture or take a class about the language, is that there's a strict hierarchy in language and politeness, but when you're drinking, the barriers come down, and you can say things that you might not say otherwise. And then the next day, people remember those opinions, but it's also kind of bygones. There's no ruffled feathers.
Yeah, that's true.
That seems to be the number one thing she's worried about losing.
Okay. And, well, this is centered on nomikai, so drinks, but there was another more lighthearted piece, I think, about India and the cuisine and travel tourist spot that you could visit. I really enjoyed reading this story. But
I'm glad this made the top 10 because this is part of a series, actually.
Yes.
We've had for quite a while now, a Footloose series, where authors go and give a guide, a tour guide, a sort of cultural guide to locations across Asia.
Because we've had several cities
we've had Hanoi, we've had Lhasa, we've had Papua New Guinea, which is not a city, but people don't think about that place that often. Sydney, Busan, Almaty, and this time it was Bengaluru's turn.
Yes, and it starts out with saying it's kind of Bengaluru is known as a IT hub, really, but actually, it's very artsy. There are many great spots to eat and drink, and a couple of the suggested places to visit was a money museum about you can learn the history about India's currency, which I thought was very
that's
fun.
One thing I took away from the article is that it's currently known as the Silicon Valley of India, but that city has a long, rich traditions and history, and that's what this article is trying to emphasize.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the close of today's episode.
We look forward to having you join up again for the next edition of the Nikkei Asia News Roundup.
Stay informed, stay curious. Until next time, I'm Jada.
And I'm Brian. See you again, and take care. This program is brought to you by Nikkei.